6:30, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Select Board of the Town of Sheffield to order on November 3rd, 2025. We're being recorded, but we are not live this evening, so we will be broadcast later, I assume. We're starting the meeting at 6:30 tonight, and we'll probably take a break after we go through the town garage. We just wanted to give people a chance to walk through the proposal we have for the garage and ask any questions. And we can give you a little bit of upfront information on this. I feel like there's probably no one in the room that isn't well aware that our town garage is over 50 years old and was temporary when it was first built, I think in 1972 or somewhere around then. And this has been on a list of the needs for the town to have a new garage, at least since the last strategic plan, which was at the turn of the last century, which for people like me means around 2000, not 1900, which makes me think of when I say turn of the century. There's a number of reasons we have issues. You know, when it comes to storage capacity, it's virtually non-existent at our current site for both equipment and materials. We're overloaded. We're hoping that by adding some covered space that a lot more of our equipment can go into, that our equipment will have a longer longevity. And given the price of some of this equipment, although I feel the same way even about my home lawnmower if I have to leave it out, we know what happens over the winter and through corrosion and salt and how that impacts the replacement time on something. And as part of this plan, we have a wash bay that will help prevent corrosion both from salt and moisture and other things sitting on the equipment. There are a number of other advantages I think that this gives us, in that the facility can house the crew during long storms and runs when they're taking care of things like public emergencies. Our current space, I think, would probably have people sleeping in their cab. I'm not quite sure. I mean, we really don't have much space. It will also provide us with a facility where we can repair our equipment not only more easily but also more safely. It provides a safe environment for our staff and hopefully increases the longevity of our staff staying on board. There's a real shortage of highway professionals in the area, and so we hope that our crew stays with us, especially given the wonderful people that we have working with us currently. A little bit of a history before this is that at one point there was a discussion about trying to site this on Berkshire School Road, on a site that it was determined really couldn't work because of a number of environmental issues. And then a site was identified on Hewen Street, a piece of empty property which we brought before the town and acquired, only to then go out to get a bid on that property and building a new facility that brought us to a number of around $20 million, which certainly seems frightening to me for a garage, and I think for the rest of us. And as all of that was happening, an alternative site across the street opened up, which all of you may remember from our bringing it in front of the town to purchase that space. And the savings it was providing was having one of the buildings already pre-built. Because of how we have to go about building public buildings in terms of state process, the cost of construction is sort of exorbitant. So the idea that we were getting one of the buildings already in place, we thought would help us bring the price down. And the good news is that it has. As part of that process, we've been working with a design firm, adding a storage building, salt shed, fueling station, and wash bay, and updating the current building as needed, as can be shown on these plans in front of us. And it looks like we will probably end up a little over $8 million to complete this, all things included, including the property which people have already approved the purchase of, as well as some money towards the renovations. In bringing that price down, we've done everything that we can. I know it still sounds like an intimidating number to all of us, but we removed whatever items we could from the bid process for things that we could procure through Sourcewell or on our own. So the fueling station, the wash bay, the salt shed, and the well came off of that, and that gave us significant savings on this. We're hoping to bring this proposal before the town in December and to bond this either in a 20 or 30-year bond. We will have some estimates of costs for taxpayers. We have a number that we can tell you that we believe it will be under, which is about $500 per year per property. We're hoping it will be less, but we're waiting for some figures that haven't come in yet. And hopefully some of that is offset by the savings on the longevity of our equipment, staff retention, the ability to service our equipment ourselves, and we have a hope of this being done by 2027. Dave is here and has been working with the select board on this process and can probably answer any questions about the space, as can any of us. But Bob has probably been the best at going through the numbers and helping us to pull out anything that we thought we could bring down and take out of the mix. With that said, does anyone have any questions, or do you want to walk through of what's in front of us?
Lee, could you go back over the finances, the numbers that you just said?
So we already have approved $2 million, right, for this, or 2.1, I believe.
So we approved the purchase of the
Right.
land, and then voters approved a $2 million short-term borrowing for the renovation. So when you come to town meeting, you will see an article for somewhere around $6 million to complete the project. At the end of all of the projects, all of the short-term borrowing will be rolled into a bond, approximately $8 million, and that would be for 20 or 30 years, depending on what the board decides with the financial advisor is the best for the town. We don't have the exact figures on the impact to the taxpayers at this point, but we're estimating it to be slightly under $500 a year.
For how many years?
20 or 30, they haven't decided on the terms yet. That's still...
Obviously, if we could do 20 years, we get a lot of savings out of that in terms of interest and longevity, but we also don't want to have a significant burden on people in the short term either.
So you took certain things off the bid because we could procure them ourselves, but is that included?
They're still in the budget. We're just taking care of those ourselves. And Dave did a lot of this work by finding out how we could bring in a fueling station and have them build the pad for us and just hire somebody that brings it in. Because of Sourcewell, I think is why we're able to do some of these things. We don't have to go through the standard procurement process, which really would have made it complicated for us and also probably brought the prices up as well.
Is Sourcewell used or is it new stuff?
It's new.
It's new.
It's just a state,
It's a bidding cooperative. For many states use it, and so they collectively put out bids that towns can join and find the bidder or vendor that was selected to be the best option for towns wanting to use it. So that just means that we don't have to advertise and do all of the regular bid process ourselves. It's already been done for us, so we can kind of just go shopping for what we need.
And I think we're doing that with the wash bay.
Not the wash bay.
Isn't the wash bay? We're doing the wash bay ourselves, the
wash bay.
equipment, yeah.
That, yes.
Oh, you mean okay, sorry.
The
Yeah,
wash.
yeah. The shed will be built for the wash bay, and then the washing equipment we can purchase and have put in. And then the salt shed is working similarly. They'll build a pad, and then we can bring in somebody else who just installs a pad, which brought the numbers down pretty significantly, actually.
Some of these companies that are on Sourcewell are giving a pretty good price so that the towns will go there directly. And it saves us the bidding process, and it also saves us some money.
Are we able to use these separate consortiums because they're separate buildings? Is that why? I mean, I think of this as a single project, but it's like a separate, like the wash bay or the salt shed, oh, it's a separate entity and that's why we can take it out?
The fueling station it's not a building,
Right.
but it is a separate entity.
Yeah.
The bid is basically for the pumps, the fob system, the containment. All we have to do is have the contractor who's gonna bid the overall project pour a slab and supply electric to that slab. It was cheaper than going through a general contractor. The cost estimators were much higher than Sourcewell, where we could find, pick this up. The well was the same. The bid, the estimated cost through the cost estimator that is used by our engineering firm was $200,000 for the well, which seemed high, and Dave went out and procured 3 bids, or tried to get 3 bids. And we wound up getting it for $32,000. So there's a nice cost savings. And it was the same with the fuel station. It's not exactly the same, but the one that they had proposed was $180,000. The one they found was $36,000. So some of these things, the salt shed was kind of a similar deal. There's, what's the name of the Iron Horse? Iron Horse is the one that manufactures and will install it by going through Sourcewell and them directly. There was $50,000, $60,000 savings. With that being said, we also have to be careful not to take so much out of the general contract that we can't get somebody to bid. So we're probably taking out as much that way to save money as we can.
And we also isolated components that we knew someone could come in and do really without any sort of maximized supervision on our part, and that we don't have the expertise to take over necessarily the construction.
Highway department did the demo work in the existing building. There was walls, offices that were not necessary, that could be used better than what they were made for. So they did the demo themselves. That was a $50,000 savings. There's been some other things, and probably be a few more things that we can save, but we've been chiseling at this for quite some time, and unfortunately the price is still huge, but being a municipality, you just don't have as much flexibility to go out and get contractors and bid it more locally. The cost estimator is using numbers that probably work in Boston. If you were to go to a local vendor or whatever.
But they have to use fair wage throughout the state, which is part of the state's laws on procurement and all of that as well.
And there are what I call fluff in the bidding process. Overhead and price, is it? Overhead and profit. Cost escalation. There is a list of about, contingency. There's a list of about $1 million that really has no attached figure for. That's just in case of. So I call it fluff.
And we may come in under these numbers,
Right.
in which case that's what we'll put a bond out for. I mean, and one of the good news about the company we're using is that they're known for coming in under budget, which the last thing we want to do is have to go back out again for more money or scramble to find money. So if we came in under, obviously that'll be reflected. I couldn't help in thinking about this evening, had we actually built this in 2000 when it was on the strategic plan, we'd probably just be finishing paying it off, or be well off done with paying it off by now. But it is a long-term project. I mean, a temporary garage lasted us 50 years. I'm assuming one that we actually planned on will at least give us that.
What happens to the old garage and that property?
That'll be cold storage. Basically, things that are not being used at the time, like plows in the summertime, can be stored in there. Lawnmowers in the wintertime. It's not a very big garage to begin with, and that also helped us lower the cost of the project by not having to add additional storage, what we would call cold storage, which is basically just a roof and, walls to keep it from the elements. We also, on top of that, figured that the business park probably wouldn't be a great place to store brush and debris and maybe aggregates uncovered where you might have some dust or something bother local businesses that are in the business park that aren't associated with the highway garage. So basically, the old site will be for brush, debris, maybe some aggregate like the millings that came off the hot roads here before they paved. This way he has a place to store that, which can be used later, which helps with costs of buying aggregate.
We tried to work on this layout as much as possible to maximize the amount of space left on the land too, in case there's a need for something in the future.
How many acres is in the old garage, do you know?
3 acres, but about 1.5 acres is usable. Wetlands in the back, it's long and it's narrow. Does not comply with zoning at all, not even close, but it was pre-zoning, grandfathered in. If you'd like, I can run down through what the buildings are for and what Dave plans on using them and the equipment that'll be in them.
You mean the old
building, the new building, the salt shed.
And if you haven't taken a glance, feel free to walk up and look at them too. I mean, we can step through them. They're pretty self-explanatory, I think. I think the really ideal thing is getting space to continue to work on and service the equipment too. Where like currently the garage is so tiny, they're moving things in and out, even in process, just so that they can do a minor service on something.
Some jobs they can't even do because they can't tie up the shop for that length of time because the other equipment has to go back in. So they can only do things that are quick. They go in, if it's a brake job, you hope something don't happen while you got the wheel off or a rotor off, and all of a sudden you can't fix it that day, or you got to have another part. It's not going to be in until next week, and there's one of our 2 bays tied up that you can't put anything in, so things have to sit outside. The other benefits to this is, one, we have a fuel station with an underground fuel tank very close to our municipal water supply. That's always been a contentious thought. If that thing should spring a leak, especially the gas tank, the municipal water would probably be contaminated. We had a little oops there last year, and that cost quite a bit of money to clean up. And that was just basically overfilling of a tank and during rain, and it washed down the road towards the municipal well. So we get the tank out of the ground with a new system that is contained, so if something were to happen, the fuel isn't running down the road. The salt shed is much bigger. We'll have adequate storage in case we have back-to-back storms. Right now, if we were to run back-to-back storms, we're probably going to be out of salt or darn close to it.
Which has been an issue when there's been supply issues as well, not just demand. Yeah.
We can't wash the equipment there because it is outside and it's too close to the municipal well again. So this site gives us a lot of flexibility. It's going to be built so it's environmentally safe. I don't know what else can we say about it. It's been a long process, but I think we're there, as close as we can be. my colleagues and colleagues before these colleagues probably have been sick and tired of hearing me complain about the cost and the process, shall we say, to get to this point. But I think we are at that point where it's ready to bring to the town, and we're there.
I'll speak to the fact that we've certainly heard Bob talk a lot, but one of the things that I think we get to feel really good about on this is that people have been building garages around us and town center buildings that have been running from 18 to 27 to $40 million. So like, as outrageous as this number might feel to us, we're actually kind of getting out of here. We certainly can't say scot-free, but we can certainly say better than not. I mean, and I think we should have better numbers in terms of by the next meeting, right? So in any estimations on what we think it will cost the taxpayer, we should have a better understanding on 2 weeks from today at our next meeting, where we'll also go through this for anyone that has questions.
So assuming that everything moves forward in the way that you expect, is everything going to be built at the same sort of time, or is it going to be in standard, and when will it be finished?
So it's an interesting question, because initially this was looked at as being done as a two-phase deal, right? We were going to renovate the building that was already there and then begin the other work. And then in talking with EDS or EM, I always EDM. I keep wanting to make them emergency medical services. We said, you know, would there be any cost savings in trying to do all this work at once, so that all of the groundwork can happen at the same time? And we don't know exactly what it saved, but it did seem to bring us some savings, let alone psychic savings of not going through this process at a longer level. And hopefully by starting it all at once, we can really get this done relatively efficiently. I mean, I think our hope would be to be done by next fall, but I think in reality we would never want to say that, because nothing ever happens on a timeline that one wants.
And getting a general contractor at times has been very difficult. So, you know, we may get lucky and have one come in with a good bid and start right off running in the spring, but we just don't know how that's going to go.
And once we have this process completed of getting an approval, we still need to go out to bid, which would probably happen in early January. And so in all likelihood, we probably wouldn't be able to start before somewhere in the spring.
Thank you.
And
So lots about all the equipment and all that, but in terms of taking care of the employees, I like seeing break rooms and lockers and all those things. This doesn't show the level of detail. But on the other hand, like, I'm assuming there's gonna be a kitchenette in the break room, and Frank helped me find the shower, so I thought that was great. And then, are there going to be like cots, like if it's a long-term winter storm, will there be a place somebody can lay down and take a nap for a few hours before they go plow some more?
so the nice thing about this original building that we're getting is that there was an office space to this one side. And when Bob was talking about our having gutted, this was one of the areas that was kind of pulled out a little bit more significantly. And we'll be able to have a room for them to meet in, which I also assume can be a room that people could rest in too, which I think is even more key. An office for Dave, who I think probably works sitting in the front of a truck, crawling in and out the window in the current space. An entryway, a break room, a locker area with a shower as well, because if there's a chemical spill or something, people can clean themselves up quickly. It really brings us to a level that probably we should have been at.
No, I just think it's great that it's
Already.
taking care of the employees too, not only our equipment, but our people.
Well, retaining good employees is difficult enough, and having the type of facilities we have right now is not going to retain good employees. And this does have, like Lee said, you've got a nice office for Dave, you've got a conference room, you got a break room with a kitchenette, you've got lockers where they can sized enough so you can actually put your gear in. You have a bathroom that'll pretty much be for the employees. There's also going to be there's a second bathroom, we're not adding it, but there's a second bathroom that could be more of a public, if somebody's there, a salesman, if you're having a conference there in the room, which I would assume the conference room would be open to other departments in town. If you were going to present something, you could use that. There's plenty of storage. There will be lifts in this building, so one of the other really good things is we'll have a hot works area. Right now, there's no hot works area. It really doesn't meet code at all where we are now. But this will have an area where the welder will be set up, where you can use torches and weld and grind without burning them.
And safe storage of chemicals as well.
Safe storage of chemicals, yep. I mean, it brings us up to where people would really like to probably work here. Just having a nice facility that's well laid out.
Although if Bob applies for a position when this is all over, we'll know that this was a setup, because he's been playing us quite well on that, I think. So we have any other questions or thoughts? So we have about 4 minutes. Should we take a brief recess?
Sure.
Okay. Do I need a motion to take a recess?
I'll make a motion that we recess for, I don't know.
I think it's
about
4 minutes, yeah. Speaking of, right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Recessed until 7. It's 7 o'clock, and we'll call this meeting back to order when recess is over. And item number 3 on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes. I believe we have a few sets here.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 6th, 16th, and 20th minutes. 2 sets for the 16th and the 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have an action regarding 2026 license fees. We have some good news in that we haven't changed any of them, so unless somebody would like me to, we can skip reading these 2 pages of fees. But I'm happy to share them with anyone if anyone would like to look at them. There's a slight shift that you might want to announce, which...
Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street, chair of the Board of Health. All we did in this iteration was to clarify that a farm stand permit allows you to sell at the Sheffield Farmers Market, but not at other temporary food events. For that, you will need a temporary food permit separate from the farm stand permit. That was the only change.
Thank you, Pat. Would anyone like to make a motion accepting these fees?
I'll make a motion to accept the 2026 license fees.
Both the select board ones and the Board of Health fees?
Correct.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5 is last week we announced, or 2 weeks ago, that we have somebody to appoint Charles Cohen to put his name up for constable, and I see that he's here this evening. So we would like to vote on an appointment for him. Thank you for coming.
Sorry, Lee.
Go ahead.
Keep cutting you off today. That's
all
my
right.
fault. I'll make a motion to appoint Charles Cohen as the constable.
Second.
1-year term.
And it will be needing his help soon because we should have some things to post in the weeks ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations and thank you for doing this. I believe you'll go down to Phyllis to swear in, or? Item number 6, as we talk about the highway department this evening, we have, I believe we announced last time, or maybe we did not, that Donald Peck has resigned from the highway department. He's taken another job, and we're sorry to see him go. But we would like to accept his resignation if somebody would so move.
I'll make a motion that we accept Donald Peck's letter of resignation and send him a letter of thanks for his service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7 is we have discussion possible action regarding a zoning bylaw change relating to signs. Is anyone presenting anything on it, or am I just sort of talking us through this? That's me? Okay. So recently we've had a little bit of conversation and that there had been some confusion about whether our signage regulation was comprehensible enough in terms of square footage and space and open space underneath the sign. And so we've been given a new piece, which I assume we should read out loud. Shall I do that? Signs related to commercial activities. Permitted by right. The following types of signs advertising commercial businesses and services shall be permitted. Within the Village Center District, the Commercial District, or the General Business District, one primary sign not exceeding 20 square feet in area and one secondary sign not exceeding 8 square feet advertising a commercial or industrial use is allowed. Within the Rural District, one primary sign not exceeding 12 square feet in area and one secondary sign not exceeding 4 square feet is allowed.
So that's what's current
That's-
in our bylaws.
And now we have a few changes, and although the if allowed is allowed was added on the second one. Number 3, the maximum height of a freestanding sign shall be 10 feet, measured from the top of the grade to the highest point of the sign face. This was something that had been a little unclear in the last thing. And then item number 4, the sign area shall be calculated by the width and height that includes text and graphics. Any airspace from grade to the bottom of the sign face is permitted to allow for visibility and landscaping. This clearance shall not count towards total sign size. This was one of the other areas of confusion. And then item number 5, support structures, including poster poles, shall not be included in the calculation of the sign area, provided that they are no larger than 6 inches by 6 inches, or constructed from peeled logs or other round wood or metal, not exceeding 8 inches in diameter, do not contain any text, logos, or graphic elements, are structurally necessary and visually subordinate to the sign face. Have you two had time to review this and take it into consideration?
I have. I think it just makes it easier to read and understand for everyone.
I have no problems with the text or the change. I think it would be a good addition. So I'll make a motion
Thank
that we, yes, and now I'm tongue-tied, that we will promote or stand behind this going forward to town meeting.
You'll forward it back to the planning board and to town council for review and take it from there. It'll be on the warrant at the next town meeting. After the planning board, of course, has a public hearing. So.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Are there any questions, comments, or feedback? I mean, there'll be a public hearing about this that we don't really play a role in. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Number 8 is a discussion item or action regarding representative for the Berkshire Regional Emergency Communications Center. Amanda, do you want to give a little background?
So we have a new regional emergency communication center in the sheriff's office up on Cheshire Road in Pittsfield. And so they have been organizing and getting everything all set up to do this more regionally with your EMS services, 911 services, those types of things. So what they're looking for right now is to set up their I think it's the administrative advisory board, which shall be comprised of either the mayor, town manager, or town administrator for each community member. The board shall select a chair, and they shall meet at least semi-annually, but more frequently as necessary, to advise on the budget and the operation of the center. So they are asking if Sheffield would like to have the town administrator serve in that position, or if someone else would like to be on that administrative board.
Any thoughts, gentlemen?
As I read this includes you, Chief Munson, and Chief Ulrich.
On different boards.
I thought that was
This
all on the
is-
same board.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
believe the administrative board, it's under D. The Administrative Advisory Board.
Okay, so there'll be an executive advisory.
There's a bunch of
board
different,
and
yes,
an
there's all kinds of advisory boards. There's the Fire Advisory Board, there's the Police Advisory Board, there's the Executive Advisory Board, so there's all kinds of boards to this center. The one that we're talking about tonight is administrative.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
I just want to ask if there's a Board of Health board.
I don't believe I read anything involving the Board of Health.
Okay.
This is basically just dispatch, mainly.
Yeah.
This was the reworking of 911 and the centralization of all of this. Well, I think that it makes sense. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I'm just thinking, if they named the number, the positions that they were willing to accept on
Right.
this board.
We only have one of them.
Right, and is that something that that person really wants? I mean, the Board of Health is quite involved in emergency planning, working closely with the fire chief and police chief. There could be someone from there.
I think the way it's written, it really is our town administrator.
Because this advisory board will deal more with budgets than,
Then you're going to accept it, yeah.
So I would happily make a motion to appoint our town administrator,
Second.
which means she gets to go to a meeting and one of us doesn't have to.
Sure.
Although we're not even on the category, so I think that's fine. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. You can go downstairs and be sworn in. If we weren't already pushing poor Rhonda out, I think we just did it. Item number 9 on the agenda is a possible action and discussion regarding a quote for tree work in the Ashley Falls Green. APHIS has been working on caring for the green and planted a bunch of bulbs this weekend, but they also met with Stafford Tree Service about a number of trees that are actually in bad condition and need removal. We have a quote here for removing 3 large maple trees, a couple of leaders from the 2 locust trees that are growing into another tree, and a smaller fruit tree. In addition, they will haul away all of the material on this, and the bid is $96.75 from Stafford. This money would come out of the funds that we've actually set aside. I believe we have about $55,000 sitting in the fund for tree work in town. I don't know if everyone remembers, we created an article 2 years ago and have been putting money away each year.
Were any other outfits considered or estimates asked?
I believe that there was one other that I know, but I can find out exactly for sure that didn't respond, so I'll follow up on that question.
And I think John Field, I think there were several. But it was mainly
Well, I was just
non-response.
wondering, because there's a local one that's just down the road that may be interested in it.
Morning Tree Service is one. Well, no, it's Bush.
Oh, I think that I don't know whether they were contacted.
We
or
can
not.
certainly reach out and ask for it.
And the other issues I have is also the disposal of the materials is not included in this estimate.
Logs will be hauled away by us to an approved disposal site.
Yes, but it also says bucket chip truck Disposal costs not included in pricing. It's in the next.
Yeah, I see that, I see that.
They'll haul it away, but they're not, this quote does not include.
But wouldn't that just go around the corner to, what's their name, Takes Wood?
I don't know if they'd be
Conklin.
interested in any of this. Usually, our highway department takes it to Sheffield, to the
Sheffield product.
Sheffield
Yeah.
products. And there is a cost to it. And was our highway,
Dave's been involved in this.
has he been
Yeah.
involved with this?
Dave was down there meeting with them
Okay.
and assessing the trees.
Because the stumps could be taken care of by our highway department. We do have an excavator.
So
And the brush.
let us do a little bit more work on this, we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Although I think they're hoping to do the work this month before they do the Christmas tree, so that's one complication.
I'm not for
Yeah.
this. I won't vote for it tonight, so.
Okay,
I would rather have some more information on it.
all right. Maybe we could put it on a
Working.
working meeting too, so that we can move it along. All right, item number 9, discussion possible action regarding authorization of zoning enforcement officer and zoning board of appeals chair to recommend bylaw changes to the planning board. Do you want to give a little history on this, Rhonda? Or should we just look at this?
So this is a letter to BRPC that would allow Ken Smith, our Sheffield zoning enforcement officer, and Renee Wood, the ZBA chair, to make recommendations to the planning board, ZBA, and the select board regarding clarification of multifamily, multi-unit housing in each of the town's districts. This would also revise definitions as needed, revisions to the use table and dimensional requirements, as well as review special permit options on housing units for the planning board and the ZBA, and the use of variances for the ZBA. Do you want to go into the background of what this is?
I think one of the things that we're finding is that there's, with the introduction of ADUs, we're recognizing that we probably have some materials that are not necessarily well directed to the present day. So it's a hope to sort of get an understanding of how we want to move forward on this and what changes we may need in our bylaws. I think the RPC, to my mind, is a great partner in this because they've worked with other towns on similar legislation or similar issues, and I imagine we're not the only ones facing this currently. Any thoughts?
Confused as to why. I would assume that Ken Smith and the planning board would be involved in it. The ZBA can be involved in it, but I don't know if it's necessary for the ZBA to be involved in the drafting of new regulation. And I believe CJ is going to be helping
Yes.
with this.
Yeah. I think she's been meeting with them and kind of gathering information and is willing to take and put the energy into it, which is a little bit of part of what we need probably. But I'm fine either way on that.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. It just is a little out of the ordinary from the way I've looked at it through the years. But anyway, I'll make a motion that we can send this draft letter.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I say anything regarding that at this time?
What was that?
Yeah, go up.
I just would have thought, seeing as you have the vice chair of the planning board here, you might ask me for my thoughts on that. I actually spoke to the ZBA chair about this, and this is more extensive than what I was imagining. And so we have a DTLA grant that we're working with BRPC on, and we're working on changing our bylaws and updating them, and we're talking about variances and waivers and all sorts of things to do with dimensional standards. We're working on short-term rentals. We've got so much going on that what I'm afraid of happening is then you're going to have you've got the planning board working on it, and then a separate entity as such working with CJ, and I'm working with Brett, and I'm a little concerned that we're overlapping and there's not enough conversation going on between the two.
So I must be a little confused. I thought CJ was working with the planning board.
No, Brett took over from CJ.
So CJ will not be working with the planning board?
So I believe that CJ and Brett work together.
Yeah.
Well, Brett works under CJ.
Right. So it's the same office.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize, I guess, that Brett had taken over all of working with the planning board.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was my assumption, is this was, for me, this is mainly a planning board issue,
Right.
not a ZBA issue.
Which in this letter, what they're saying is that these two people are willing to try to put materials together to bring to you. But if you're saying that you don't feel a need for that.
I'm not saying that, but what I heard you say was that they are going to work with CJ, and so they should actually be working with us.
Yeah. Can I read you the first line and see?
Yeah.
It's the select board will ask Ken Smith, Sheffield Zoning Enforcement Officer, and Renee Wood, ZBA Chair, to make recommendations to the Planning Board, ZBA, and Select Board regarding clarification of multifamily, multi-unit housing in each of the town's districts. And if that, so
Well, that's
please
what
give
we
us your-
do. So I'm totally fine with them working with us. I just, I feel like we're coming at it.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure why they're asking you if it's okay for them to come to us with this, because why can't they just come to us with this without involving you?
I don't have an answer. This letter came out of the blue. So-
Yeah.
Where did this letter come from?
CBA chair.
Okay. Well, that explains a few things.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I
No,
just
no,
don't
no.
want us to be overlapping.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi, Julie Hannum, 765 Home Road. This is the first I've heard about any of this, but it really does feel like overreach, because when I heard you say that, I'm like, isn't this what the planning board does? And I would think that there would be a collegial relationship with the building commissioner and anyone concerned from the ZBA, that they have a charge to try to make this work. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Do you want to step back from your motion?
Yeah, why don't we table this for now and,
Well, you've already voted on it.
oh,
You
sorry.
wanna-
So I would like to rescind my motion and my vote.
Okay. Second. This is a.
We'll table this for
I
next
feel like we're working in Congress today. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And hopefully in that interim period, maybe a conversation can happen so that there's some understanding of what this was attempting to do.
I mean, I did have a conversation with her, but it didn't sound quite like how that letter read, so.
All right, thank you. Next up is an action regarding a letter of support for the South County Transit Grant Program. This is a program through which we've been using for transportation in the area, in addition to our senior center transportation. And they're looking for a letter of support for their next grant cycle, I believe, right? Or
Correct.
funding cycle.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for the South County Transit Grant Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 12 is the holiday schedule for Town Hall. We're really grateful for the staff that we have in town, and I think we're one of the more fortunate towns to have a number of members that have given us a considerable amount of longevity. And this year, our holiday cycle is landing in a way that if we gave people 2 days off, they would have the week of Christmas off. And as we're not allowed to give bonuses and do other things, we would like to thank our staff in some way and have made a determination that that is what we would like to do. And we just wanted to make that announcement to townspeople to realize that the offices would be closed. And I can look up the dates, but
The week of the 22nd.
the week of the 22nd. Any thoughts, comments? Item number 13, board member items.
Trunk or treat was really busy, so it was great to see everyone out and about in the center of town. Seemed like a great success. And thanks to everyone that did something to help along that.
And I'll just throw a little in with that, because seeing how it was a cool, damp night and a strong, brisk breeze, and
Yeah.
it was not the most pleasant conditions. My grandchildren had a great time, and everybody, it sounds like they had a great turnout, and people were just having a good time, so that's nice to see.
I don't remember a Halloween that wasn't cold and rainy. I feel like they always seem to go that way for some reason. I also am not sure if the police have started to take turkeys yet for the holidays, or when they do.
I don't know, Chief Munson's
But
going to
Chief-
visit tomorrow, I'll ask
But
him.
that should be upcoming. And we've had a lot of questions and organizations around town with what's happening with SNAP benefits and people wanting to create all kinds of alternate ways of providing food for people. And what I would like to just recommend is that there are a number of services in the area and food pantries that work incredibly well. So if that's something you're hoping to do, I think sometimes it's best to work with an operation that's already functioning and knowing what they're doing versus our trying to reinvent the wheel. And
Maybe we can come up with a list of local food pantries and organizations that are already established that we
Yeah.
can, and the public can donate more to if they would like.
I think that would be nice. I know that I go to the food pantry in Great Barrington, which is where I drop things off. I guess I go there to drop things off, I should say. But I know that according to the newspapers, places are really being hit hard. So it's a moment for all of us that might feel a little bit more fortunate to do something to help others. It's not a small number of people in Berkshire County that use SNAP benefits, so it really has the potential to impact people. I think the latest news today was that they would possibly be giving a partial amount this month. And of course, it's Thanksgiving, so it seems like a month for us all to be thankful. Rhonda, do you have anything? Any public comments? Julie?
Julie Hannum, Sheffield Farmers Market. Follow up on the SNAP, just to announce that the Farmers Market is doing 2 holiday winter markets. The first one's November 15th, Saturday from 10 to 1, so that's a change, not Friday night, but Saturday. And with the conversations everybody at the market's been monitoring, and they will be doing the match part of SNAP. So if someone has a SNAP card, we won't be able to run the card for those receipts, but the market will be offering the $2 of the 3 to do that. So that is something that is there. And then I'll just switch hats. We have 2 food pantries right at Old Parish Church in Sheffield. There's a program that's there Monday mornings, another that's there packing on Thursdays. So you can be in touch if you'd like to, make donations there. And I just scanned through the Sheffield Times, and indeed Chief Munson did put his call out for turkeys. And that will go to the Village Food Box for the school district. So, yeah, it is in the paper that he's looking for turkeys for that piece. So there we go.
And is the farmer's market happening out here, or it's at its normal location, right, this month?
It'll be at Dewey Hall.
Oh, it'll be at Dewey Hall, okay, thank you.
Dewey Hall for November and December.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, statements? No? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.